Hi, I'm Gavin Hoey and welcome to another Paint Shop Pro movie from Digital Photo Magazine. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to take a standard picture like this and turn it into a pencil sketch. Now, there's quite a lot to get through with this tutorial, so let's crack on. The first thing I need to do is actually to have two identical versions of this picture. And to do that, it's very easy in Paint Shop Pro. We'll just go to Edit and Copy, and then Edit and Paste as a new image. And there we go, we've now got two versions of the same picture, 1 and 2. So let's get rid of that second copy, we don't need that for the moment, and we'll just work on the first one. Now we're going to do quite a bit of work with layers, so let's get the layers palette on the screen. That's F8 on the keyboard, and there we can see our layers palette, and we can see, here we go, we've just got our background layer. In fact, we're going to need 3 layers of this particular image. So we'll go for copy layer once and twice, and now we've got 3 identical layers. I'm going to start off by making the pencil sketch outline. I'm going to do that by changing the blend mode of this top layer from normal down to difference. And this will show any differences between this layer and the layer underneath it. And as we can see, there are no differences because it's identical, and therefore the image is black. But if we start to make some differences by moving one of the layers, then we'll start to see something happening. I'm going to do that. We're going to get this little thing up here, the deform tool, and if I want to move the top layer around, I need to hold Control on the keyboard and then nudge it with the cursor keys, and that'll just move it 1 pixel at a time. As I do, we should see the outline of the apples start to appear on the screen. And the more you nudge, the more of an outline you get. And this is kind of a personal thing. How much do you do? Well, it's kind of up to you. That looks pretty good. We'll leave it at that. Okay, let's get rid of one of these layers by merging it together slightly. We go to Layers, and then Merge, and Merge down. Here he comes. There we go. And now we can see we've got just the 2 layers. We've got this layer, which has our black version, and this one, which has our original image in. But I don't really want it to look black. I want it to look white. I want it to look like a sketch. So we need to change it around slightly. And to do that, we're going to go up to Adjust, and then down to Negative Image. There we go, so that inverts the colours within the image, so the black bits go white, and the white bits go black. Well, nearly black, because look, we've actually got quite a bit of colour coming through here. So I want to get rid of some of that colour as well. So to do that, very simple. Go back to Adjust again, Hue and Saturation, and then go for Hue, Saturation, and Lightness. This brings up quite a large looking box here, but it's this one down on the left hand side here, the saturation setting. We drag that down to -100 and say OK. That will get rid of all of the colour information on that layer and that layer only, and leave us with a black and white image. So one more thing I want to do before we go too much further with this image, just close that down. There we can see our original picture. Let's highlight that layer so we know we're working on it. I want to have the colour from this layer in the picture later on, but I don't want all the detail. So I'm going to throw away some of the detail by using a bit of an effect. If we go up to Adjust, and then Add and Remove Noise, we'll find the median filter. It's kind of hidden in a bit of a strange place there. But that's what that does. If we kind of move our little sample image around somewhere, try and find some top bits. There we go, look. It takes the standard picture and just blurs it a little bit, but it doesn't allow it to bleed out too much. We have quite a defined line there. And the more you put in, the more of an effect you're going to get. How much you put in is up to you. I tend to find that I want to actually put it into maximum. So that's what we'll do. I want to make sure I still keep the stem though, because you can go too far with that. And we'll just wait for that to have an effect. And there we go. So that's now applied that effect to the image. Okay, we're all done with that picture for a while, so let's just sink that to the bottom and get our duplicate picture that we made earlier on. There it is. Now for this picture, I'm going to apply a bit more of a filtered effect. But with many filters, the size of the image is vital. If it's too big an image, too many pixels, then the effect doesn't tend to work very well. So first of all, I'm going to throw away a lot of the information, throw away a lot of the pixels. And we'll do that by going to Image and Resize. Here we get the chance to actually change the dimensions of the picture. And it's this little section here that was going to interest us, because this is where we actually resize it. I want to change the size to 750 pixels in height. Not going to worry what the width does. I'll say OK to that. That'll resize our image down, so now it seems much smaller on the screen. Actually is. Let's just make that a little bit bigger. We'll just get the zoom tool and just fit that onto the screen. So there we go. So here are the steps we're going to do. Let's go to Adjust, and Brightness and Contrast, and then Brightness and Contrast. Here's our little box. This is just going to increase either the brightness or the contrast in the picture, and I'm just going to increase the contrast to try and get rid of this sort of white edge effect. And contrast of 50% I'm going to go for, so we'll say OK to that. And as you can see straight away, it boosted the contrast in the picture. Now I want to throw away some of the colour, so we return to a black and white picture. Do that in the same way as we did a minute ago. We'll go for Adjust, Hue Saturation and Lightness, Saturation at minus 100%. So there we go. Now we've got a contrasty black and white image. So now we're ready to use one of the effects to create a kind of a pencil filling in type design. Now, if you've already looked at this in the magazine, you'll see we've done it in Elements, and Elements has slight different filters to PaintShop Pro, and they're possibly slightly better for actual doing sketching. At least you have more choice. But don't worry, PaintShop Pro comes up with guns with its own little effects. So if we go for Effects, Art Media Effects, we have a great one called Brush Strokes. This is a hugely powerful filter. Setting wise, well, there's loads of different settings you can choose. You can either try some of the default settings in here, which can be quite good, but I've kind of worked out that this little setting works quite well. A softness of 13, stroke lengths of 11, density 76. Play around with the effect, because you will find that just by changing some of these numbers, changing the stroke length for example, will completely alter the whole image. It's incredible how just moving a few things about can really change the effect that you're going to get. Let's put that back to where it was. But once you've found one that you're happy with, just say OK, and that'll apply the effect to the image itself. There we go, it's rather nice. Okay, let's combine these two images together. Let's move that to the side and reopen our first image. We'll just get rid of the layers palette for a minute because we're kind of running out of space here. There we go. Now we've got these two pictures. I want to combine them into one. Very simple to do that. Get the main picture. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcuts this time round. So Control and C to copy. Make your main picture active, and Control and V to paste. Whoops, that's wrong. Try that again, shall we? Control and C to copy, and Control and L to paste as a new layer. Nearly caught me out. Okay, so there's our new layer. We can get rid of this picture now. We don't need it any longer. So now what we need to do is just to make this image a little bit bigger, because it's a bit small. Just get the Deform tool, and I'll just drag these up and out, but I'm going to use the right mouse button so the whole thing stays proportional. So using the right one and dragging a corner handle like that. Right, let's get our layers palette back open again, F8. Here we can see we've just got the layer that we've made. Over the top of that we have our outline sketch that we did earlier on, but we can't see it, so let's turn that back on again. I want to change the order of these two layers. If I just click the top layer and drag it so it's underneath, those two layers then swap order. But I can't see now my outline anymore, so I'm just going to change the blend mode. I'm going to go down for hard light, which is down at the bottom here. Now that's changed the look of the image, but we still can't see the outline, so just reduce the opacity of that layer down to around about 50% or thereabouts. And that should give quite a nice sort of a greyed effect, still with a bit of deep shadow in there, but more importantly we can now see the outline that we carefully made earlier on. Let's just merge those two layers down again. Go for Layer, Merge, and Merge Down. There we go. Now I want to add a little bit of texture and colour to the image. So I've got a picture here of some paper that I've photographed, just crumpled up tissue paper and then photographed. And I'm going to add that into the picture. So let's add that in the same way, and I'll try and do it correctly this time. Make sure the picture's active, and Control and C to copy. Then go to the picture that you want to add it into, and Control and L to paste as a new layer. There you go. We'll get rid of that. Now we can see we're back to 3 layers again. We should have at the top of the layers our newspaper. We can see that because we can't see through it at all. Underneath that we've got our sketch, and at the bottom we've got the colour we're going to use later on. Once again, I need to change the order of these layers. This time I'm going to make sure that the crumple paper goes into the middle of the layer stack, and at the top I've now got my sketch. So if we play around with some of the blend modes, we should start to be able to combine these images so we can start seeing through them. So let's go first of all for the top layer, and we'll set that, I think, to soft light. Yeah, that works pretty well. Now we can see the paper and the pencil sketch nicely combined together. Now on the middle layer, let's click it to make it active. We're going to change the blend mode on that one down to multiply. Like that. And that'll bring the colour through, so we get this lovely colour coming in from the bottom layer and combining with our pencil sketch effect. That's all working together really rather nicely. So with our image nearly completed, we've just got one finishing touch to add. Let's add in a nice sort of painterly border. Here's a border that I've got ready to go, just a blank picture. I'm just going to add that in. So same technique as we've already used several times before today. We'll go for Control and C to copy it, go for our main picture, and Control and L to paste it. And there it comes into the main picture. Get rid of the original, we don't need that any longer. On the layers palette, once again, I'm afraid we've got to change the order of the layers once more. Got to keep in check with these layers. Let's move the layer we've just made right to the top of the stack. There it is. And we'll change its blend mode. This time we've got a very clever blend mode to use for this. We're going to use the screen blend mode. And what screen does is it says anything that's black in this layer will become transparent, and anything that's white will stay white. So when I select screen, what happens is I get the white border showing through, and through the black that was there, I can see all the layers underneath. And that adds a super little painterly effect edge to finish the picture beautifully. And there we go. That's the image completed.